one question that haunts in my mind is, think about it, what is our common vision of the future, our own future, 20 years ago or 30 years ago? When I was in my 20s, to be honest with you, I really a great admirer of American culture. Actually, at that time, we learned American programs. We say American is an experimental culture that will set up an example for the other cultures to follow. But fact is, if we ask the question to Fukuyama, the Japanese-American scholar, nearly 30 years ago in his book, The End of History and the Last Man, he said, wow, this is a very easy question. Modernization is equal to Westernization, and Westernization simply Americanization. This is a very crazy idea, but we have to admit that was the fact. So, how about our common vision of our future? What is the real significance of BRICS when we talk about our cultural vision of our future? So, well, the reason here is that obvious. We would never follow the idea that our future is characterized or must be dominated by Americanization, because our American teacher really was in deep trouble now. Yesterday afternoon, we had a discussion about that. And what are the troubles? Have you ever seen a society so far in our human history which is so much divided? Have you ever seen a society whose politics are so much characterized by polarization? Have you ever seen a society, the party politics is actually interest group dominated and manipulated by capital? America is a very typical example in the world whose politics is extremely manipulated by capital. The fact is, philosophically speaking, I think the problem for the American culture or even with the European culture is that fundamentally their culture has a problem. That culture characterized by capitalism as a first expression of modernization is based on the principle of a society driven by self-interest, a society of individualism principle. How far can such a society go on? We have to think about it. Because we global South cultures, we BRICS, we are not in the typical type of American culture or the Western culture. And we have the possibility and we have the potential for going out of that kind of trap and establish our own modernization. That is the cultural meaning and significance for the BRICS discussion and the Global South discussion. So, in this sense, how to pursue our own modernization, the road to modernization, is really a very predominantly important question that we should think about it. And here, I want to say that world's history would survive so many passages. And what is the next passage of world's history? What kind of wisdom would dominate, would be, or involved in that kind of passage, the future passage of world history? I'm not sure, but one thing I'm sure, that would never be the American wisdom or the Western wisdom. But what is it? Let's see and explore that. So for Chinese, we have our Chinese modernization. And we think highly of the importance of making an echo to our culture and the tradition. How about we BRICS, we Global South cultures? We have such a huge abundance of cultural prosperity and a huge abundance of cultural heritage. How to explore that? First, we should realize that we have a huge, enormous heritage of cultures, which are so brilliant as an establishment of our own culture. We should make full use of that. Or I would like to say any revolution or reform which sever with their own tradition would be doomed to be a failure. So I talked with our Ghana colleague. I say, I disagree with you on the point that a revolution would be an absolute disruption from the future, from the past. So how to give our sufficient consideration and to maximize the importance of our culture and the tradition, one thing I'm going to arouse the attention. Another point is how to strengthen our narration of cultures. This is another question. I would like to say the Westerns, they're going to be very apt to strengthen their cultural narration. Dominance of Western culture, superiority over the other cultures. But what is our BRICS or Global South cultural diction or wording? We should think about it and find it out. Last point, we should enhance our mutual acknowledgement with each other. It's really a shame for me when I talk with some other colleagues from the other countries. Actually, my knowledge about the history and culture are so limited. So is, I think, probably with most of the Chinese friends here. We don't have that. Now, our knowledge about international world, most of the time, 90% are the Western culture. So that is the fact. And the same fact with the BRICS cultures, the BRICS countries. So enhance our mutual understanding and acknowledgement is an urgent task we must face.